At least it's not that goofy YouTube countdown. Hour and 30 minutes later, your video pops up.
Oh God, thanks. That's over. Okay, cool.
Good. The countdown is over. Here we go again.
We're here. We're back. You know how we do.
Let everyone file in here within reason, 6 foot distance.
Yeah.
File in.
We're doing pretty good. We're keeping it social and distancing.
And distance the social. Distance the social. Social distance. Seems like I've been a lot of places. Yeah, I have. These last 3 days. Been on a lot of adventures out of the house.
Yeah. It's been fun though.
Yeah. The exploring part, not the Walmart part.
Well, yeah, but just,
no one likes Walmart anymore.
You love being out, and it's fun watching you as you're out. You know, because I pop into your stream sometimes when you're out.
Oh,
if I'm
that
at home
one,
working.
yeah.
Yeah.
I still gotta find those abandoned vehicles.
Yeah. There's a lot of things we still find out.
I know someone pointed out some stuff that we could go check out. It's been a nice day today, but I was kind of tired. Stuff.
Yeah.
Do some running around. Make sure my stuff is shipped that I sold from eBay. You know, that kind of fun.
Yeah, spend my whole day.
Watch everyone pile in the post office at 9:30 in the morning. I don't know. At least they were keeping their distance, though. That was a good thing.
Yeah.
Everyone stay behind their lines.
Gotta hope that people are being safe, you know.
Oh, hello there, Joe. We were just doing some pre-rambling about my last couple of days, the exploring and the Walmart adventure. Yay! I'm sure everyone's seen my funny rant yesterday. But anyway, let's do what people at Walmart.
Oh man, people at Walmart, it's a whole other breed.
That's a whole nother breed.
Not to say that you're a certain person if you shop at Walmart, because all of us like to use Walmart for some of its benefits, but there's just this, man, there's a certain breed that just
I think
they seem to live there.
You
know?
Someone said they're filler people. I dare you to go up and say, "Are you alive? Are you alive?" Well, I'm filming them. Are you alive? Someone wants to see that. I don't forget who. But Joe, welcome, sir. Thank you for sharing videos, all our videos recently. We appreciate you, brother. He's a funny guy and a nice guy.
Well, he's always popped in and sharing some kind of insight, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But it's Mysterious Monday. And
Mysterious Monday.
We're going to be talking about all kinds of mysteries, whether it be something alien-related, crypto-related, or the big part of it is going to be murderers and kidnappers and things of that nature.
2 of the 3 I want to talk about are still unsolved to this day. And most of the Jack the Ripper, everyone knows that one.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about Jack the Ripper before.
But 2 of the other ones are, one is the first hanging in Ohio, because, it was West Virginia, Ohio border right down there. So, but still, technically, the first hanging. The guy was a dick, but anyway, he kind of deserved what he did, because he was. Yeah, I'll get into that later. But how many? All filling in here. Joe's joining us right now. What's
Oh man, one of my mustache hairs is like trying to attack my nose.
Well, it's always my nose hairs. And my
Oh, dude, no. Sometimes my mustache, man, like one of those hairs will just kick wild right up in there. Oh. I just had that happen. It was like killing me over here.
Come on, get out of there. Get out of my nose.
It's going in so full right now. You know.
Want to shuffle the
yeah, we'll start shuffling up. Yeah. Sorry, guys. So as we always do, you know, we're going to start shuffling up for our tarot pool.
We understand it's Monday, so people might come on in a little later. That's fine. We don't mind. Mondays are Mondays.
Well, and, you know,
you've been busy today. You got some editing done.
Well,
you mowed the front
yard.
I
edited like most of the morning and then like into the afternoon, and then I mowed the lawn and stuff, and then got everything cleaned up around the area. So then had some good dinner. So
And the chicken threw up all over the Instant Pot. It's like, don't mind. Why is that door open? Oh, the chicken threw up on the Instant Pot. In a good way.
It was good.
It was good.
Very good.
The 2 helpings. I know you had a couple helpings.
Yep.
Last 2 nights have been good. There's hardly been no leftovers.
Yeah, we've been knocking it out.
Who else is joining us? Charlena, hey!
Hey, what's up, Charlena?
It's Mysterious Murder Monday.
Yeah.
This is what we're calling our Monday tonight. So we got a couple locals, and actually, I was going to give you this part since you don't have anything. We'll put that over there. Well, I'll give it to you. You
I
can
have
read.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I like because you're originally from Ohio. I'm not, so I figure I'd give that one.
I can read it, yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
let
I
you
got
read
stories. I just don't print stuff out because I can just save it because it does the same thing.
I know, but I like to put them as a whole binder.
Yeah, you've been building that binder.
So I've been buying.
I just
Building
saved
the
the
binder.
link from my phone.
Yeah, I know. I'm not as technologically savvy as Jack.
I mean, I have binders and journals and things of that.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, you got-
I keep it analog sometimes.
We got a question. Which one? You know what? Let's make a funny one tonight.
Yeah, and why don't you pop them into the chat too once you're done?
Okay.
Go ahead and read them first.
Joe says Monday is always a mystery to me. Yeah, it is. Why is it here? Why does it exist?
Monday's been a mystery recently because I'm like, wait, it's Monday? Oh, God.
Since it's Monday and our local jester is in the chat room, do you think the spirits are social distancing from us right now too? Since they're not getting visited as often. I mean, it's kind of funny. We'll lighten the mood since it's Monday because no one likes Mondays. Who does? Yeah. What do you think? You think the spirits are social distancing from us? Or they're not?
Trying to keep their 6 feet, you know.
Oh, well, that turkey buzzer wasn't keeping 6 feet. Now it'll be coming another video.
Go jump off.
That'll be the Buzzard Farmhouse, I'll call it, up there in the park system. Talk about a creepy Texas chainsaw vibe. Then you got turkey buzzards, 4 of them, and the biggest dude sitting right down in the branch watching your ass like you're food. It's like, oh, dinner. No, I'm not dinner. I know I'm nice and plump, but I'm not dinner, sir.
Man, those turkey,
Those things are
so
creepy.
crazy, yeah.
Because I filmed it pretty good. I think I put that on Friday.
Oh, and it's perfect because it's sitting on the branch right above the house. You know, so
And I think he landed on a house let first because there was a metal roof on that old farmhouse.
The talons on the roof.
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
Yeah. That's creepy, always, you know.
Then I scared that wild turkey.
Yeah, the one that was in the woods behind
It's like,
you. Yeah.
It's like there was a lot of shit going on. Then I want to talk about that too. 2 people from 2 different, because I shared on Bandit, Ohio.
Yeah.
Said they seen something in the windows.
Yeah, they said they saw a face in the window.
Yeah. Then I talk about how those 5 holes and all those what shades are left perfectly. Someone could have been playing it, but still, that's kind of fucking odd.
It's definitely weird at that point, you know.
And I did get that weird. I always get in some of those locations, like, but in some of the video, he's like, I think it's about time to go. Either Crypt, Bigfoot could even watch a movie. It's time to go. Because it wasn't, there was water on either side. It was kind of built on a hill.
Yeah.
Then it was kind of, looks like an old drive, or it could have been a barn. But it was built up, and there's like deep water. The whole park system. Bigfoot territory.
Oh, for sure. And Joe was saying there's a jester in the chat. Yeah, his name is Joe Weaver. You know?
Yeah, Jester Joe. Who reminds me of a Garbage Pail Kid, probably. Jester Joe. Here you go.
Thanks, sir.
I'm old. I remember Garbage Pail Kids. I used to collect them at
I have a couple upstairs, yeah.
a 7-Eleven down where I used to live in PA. Me and my brother used to walk down there. Ooh, let's go get another pack. Mom, we get allowance. We did chores. I know we're a pain in the asses. Ooh, pain in the ass? Come on. Anyway.
Hey, what's up, Brent?
Oh, he's sign up. Okay. Good evening, everyone.
So
Thank you,
as
sir.
we always do, we're gonna do our tarot for the night.
Oh, Sin City Paranormal join us. Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening to you. I'm glad we can entertain you on this Monday. It's going to be a mysterious murder Monday today.
And what we're doing right now is we always, for some kind of intention, some kind of guidance for the show, we always do a single card tarot card pull. And right now we're using an Alice Wonderland theme deck.
Yeah, that's what we do. For anybody just joined us tonight, he lights the candle there and we shuffle the tarot card. We pull one card.
So what we pulled tonight was the switch around for this thing, the Eight of Hats in the upright position. Okay. So the Eight of Hats in the upright position, running away from responsibility or friendship, the yin and yang of choices, leaving behind that which is best in a person, abandoning a plan or goal, delusion, making a great matter, or something that is really trivial. So we've had that pop up before, or some kind of message like that. I think that it refers to, we've talked about it before, the Helltown legend. We've talked about a lot. And I think because we keep on talking about it, the cards are telling us, like, hey, there's a lot of fakeness out there.
And
We know that. We've been trying to weed through that fakeness, you know?
while I rewatched it and watched the comments come up, it could have been for the followers as well. It could mean something to them too.
Yeah.
So it can be either us
Or the followers.
or
as
the
well.
followers as well. So
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of
The Eight of Hats, which is the Eight of Cups in the Alice in Wonderland deck, you know? So that's our tarot pull for the night.
yeah. Usually has a couple of them. This is his second tarot deck he has.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings one, then I just had a traditional deck, you know?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's not a demon deck.
I don't know what a demon deck is. I don't think anybody knows what a demon deck is.
The Ouija board, but that's just the Ouija board. That's on display and not used. All right.
So how's everybody doing tonight? How's your Monday going? It's our Mysterious Murder Monday. We're going to be talking about different murders and stories, some from our own local state.
I got to throw that question in the chat. It's a kind of funny one tonight.
Yeah, Chris is going to throw a question in the chat just for you guys. You can answer it at any point if you've got any stories. And as we always talk about, you know, we don't have any strict guidelines to how the stories go tonight. You know, if you ever want to throw anything out at any point, we'll talk about whatever. You
Any
know,
mysterious murders that
and just any stories in general. You know,
if
you
it's your
wanna talk
first time and you want to ask some questions, go ahead, shoot them on down.
and we always encourage anything, any kind of topics. You know, anything paranormal related. You know, we talk ghosts, we talk aliens, we talk cryptids and monsters of that sort of nature. You know, so.
Witches,
whatever. Yeah, we were talking witches the other day, last week, you know, on our Wednesday show. And if you want to check out, we just put up the clip video today of last week's show. So it's all three shows of last week broken down into a series of clips. So out of about 6 hours of showtime, I broke it down into about an hour and a half of clips that I thought were like the best of for last week and stuff. So check that out for sure.
So you see that one that says Kristen, that's me, that's in the Facebook. Even for the people on YouTube, do you think the spirits are social distancing since we're not out investigating? And yeah, they might find us. They'd be a little quiet.
Question that you can throw out as well.
Oh, yeah. What? Oh, I'll save this for another night because that one's kind of in depth. I don't want to throw too many questions up there. The other one is, what does para-unity mean to you if you are an investigator or a team? Here you go. It's Sin City Paranormal says it's a darker deck. It does exist. I have a friend who uses it. That'd be interesting. I mean, not use, but see.
On Perfect Stress Boxing too, it said hi. They're just popping in real quick to say hey, show some support. We'll catch the episode as soon as possible. Stay well. So thanks for that.
You too.
And then
Thank you, Gwen.
Ghost Quest USA was saying, hey folks, saw you guys were live and decided to stop in and say hi. Well, thank you for saying hi. And
Ghost, is that the Ghost Quest? Okay.
yeah, Ghost Quest USA. And just in case you want to pop a question or pop an answer to the questions we've tossed out. Um,
Here's another one. You think the spirits miss us as much as we miss them?
it all depends on
It depends if you've been to that location a lot. They know you.
more the location itself. So if it's a location where, say, like it's a location on public land. So say a spirit at Squire's Castle, they probably don't give a shit about anybody who shows up. They're probably tired of anybody who shows up. They see people all day, every day. They don't want to deal with anybody. But say it's a location in the middle of nowhere in like Colorado, a place where like 10 people have visited in the past year, maybe a spirit would want to interact with somebody at that location because they don't get to talk to anybody.
Or like that Jake Railroad Bridge. Think how many people come out there, probably not very many.
Yeah, people pass by the trails and stuff,
but they don't actually stop.
Yeah, don't stop and try to engage with the spirits out there. We've had some interaction out there, and I agree with what you were saying for sure. That like they definitely want to interact with people who have been out there repetitively and multiple times because it's like, oh hey, this person's out here a lot. Maybe I should try to interact with them. But if it's a place where a lot of people come all the time and they're constantly bombarded, I'd imagine a spirit is probably just going to kind of annoy it. I don't know. I can't speak for them because I don't know.
If they're constantly like in these popular places, constantly.
Yeah, like I said, something like Squire's Castle, the trails pass right through the castle, and I know those trails are active because I've hiked them in the morning, and I know that there's tons of people there all day.
Or the prisons. I mean,
the prisons, yeah, the Mansfield.
They're probably like, that. Yeah. Oh look, all this space since there's no tours and whatnot going on. Oh yeah, they're just roaming about. It's like they're getting their self. I don't want to call it a breather because they're not, living, but whatever it is in the spiritual realm, they're getting a break from us.
Yeah.
Cracking a.
What do you guys think, though? We have our own
cigarettes, and card games, and
toilet wine. It's prison, so they had toilet wine, right?
Yes,
that's a real thing.
Alcohol, yeah. Hi, Linda. How's it going over there? It's going to be. I threw the question now. You think the spirits are social distancing, or like the Sin City Paranormal? So you think the spirits miss us as much as we miss them?
Yeah. So do you think that the spirits are social distancing and keeping their space, keeping their 6 feet? And also, do you think that they, since Cindy was tossing this out, do you think they keep their distance? I'm sorry. Do you think that they miss us as much as we miss them? So it's like, yeah.
I mean, because we've been at like everywhere, on the bridge, a lot of times. Yeah. And I know time's probably nothing to them.
Well, we don't know that, but
we don't know that.
But
we think that as a theory that if we haven't seen them in a year, we go back and hear, oh, it's like could be like last week.
Well, because who knows? Especially because like
it's a theory.
And we've talked about it before, where if a deity or like a demigod or something, say they lived for thousands of years, 100 years might seem like 10 years to us,
right?
Because it's all relative. It's all relative to their perception, to their reality, because they live longer, depending on.
And Linda Bird says, I think they get tired of being asked to do part of the tricks.
Well, it's a lot of the same questions they get. It's a lot of the same kind of people they get. So I'm assuming that it would probably get pretty annoying if that's what you were getting. That's why we try to mix it up and we try to engage with different questions than what your typical people are asking. But also,
simple terms.
We do want to ask the simple term questions just to make sure that we're able to communicate in the simplest way, Because sometimes, if you would say it in a complex way, they might not understand what you're talking about.
Talking to this device. They don't know what a device means. Some of them don't. I mean, maybe if there was maybe a World War II vet or vet, oh, yeah, sure. Or veteran.
But you don't know what you're interacting with.
You know, you never know what you're interacting with, and they might not understand. So you got to be. We don't know what time period they're from, or if they do like a time stack, or it's all one time. We don't know. It's just a bunch of good theories that we have when it comes to spirits and the spirit realm.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna read something.
Yeah, so as we talked about earlier, it's Mysterious Murder Monday, and we're talking about all kinds of different stuff. Mysterious wise, I'm going to be talking about some things related to some of the mysteries of the woods because I hike a lot, and there's some mysterious stuff and disappearance stuff related to wood stuff that might be on the paranormal, or the alien or cryptid side. So we'll talk about that later. But Chris has some amazing stories that he's got up. He's got a couple things for me to read up a little bit later, but for now, he's going to go into one of his. So go ahead, dude.
What if it's something close to here?
Yep.
I'm sure not many people heard of this because of what Elliot or whatever, try to solve it, but that guy was playing with them. But I've seen a lot of documentaries back then, and BuzzFeed Unsolved did a couple of those unsolved murders and everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, excuse me. The Cleveland Corso murderer, also known as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury, was an identified serial killer who was active in Cleveland, Ohio, United States in the 1930s. I love it. The killings were characterized by dismemberment of 12 known victims and disposal of the remains in impoverished neighborhood of Kingsbury. Probably there's like a lot of back in the day.
Well, probably places that were early
Bars.
places of like industry or like things where they had a lot of like big buildings,
Bars
and then
those kind of establishments.
things
were
fell
ladies,
out, and then it was an easy area to dump bodies.
Despite an investigation of the neighborhood of Kingsbury Room. Despite an investigation of murders, which at one time was led by famed lawman Elliot Ness. Yep, see, he did try to solve this and got embarrassed by it because he solved another one. Then Cleveland's public safety director. The murderer was never apprehended. I watched a couple of series and they have a clue, but I think he got away with it smarter than they were. It's easier to get away with stuff back then than it is now.
Oh, for sure.
The official.
I mean, it's like a million times easier. Yeah.
Back then. The official number of murders attributed to the Cleveland Corso murder is 12. Although recent research has shown there could have been as many as 20. 12 known victims were killed between 1935 and 1938. Some investigators, including Cleveland detective Peter Merlot, believed that there was
Tanya's in here. What's up, Tanya? Sorry.
been 13 or more victims in Cleveland, Youngstown, and Pittsburgh areas between the 20s and 50s. So he could have a lot more, and we don't know about it. Two strong candidates for addition to the initial list of those killed are the unknown victim nicknamed the Lady of the Lake, found on September 5th, 1934. Robert Robertson, found on July 22nd, 1950. So those were additional ones that were found and that they believe could be, this count could have been a lot more higher than what was found.
The time span in general could have been way more than what they originally thought. For sure, they were attributing it to like almost like less than a decade at first, but then it spanned out to where it could have been like 20, 30 years.
And this was along the railroad tracks.
Yep.
So
which is easy to
go between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. And
you'd be there in a couple hours, yeah.
Easy. The victims of the Torso murder were usually drifters whose identities were never determined. People that they probably wouldn't guess.
No family, no people report yet.
Although there were a few exceptions. Victims Numbers 2, 3, and 8 were identified as Edward Andrassi, Florence Bolilio, sorry if I butchered it, and possibly Rose Wallace, respectively. The victims appeared to the lower class individuals, easy prey in the Depression era Cleveland. Many are known as working poor who had nowhere else to live but the ramshackle shanty towns in the area known as Cleveland Flats. I've been to Cleveland Flats. I'm sure you've been to Cleveland Flats. It's nice now. The torso murder always beheaded and often dismembered their victims, occasionally severing victims' torso in half or severing their appendages. In many cases, the case of death was the decapitation or dismemberment itself. Most of the male victims were castrated.
The penis cuts off and stuff. Yeah.
No more wieners and balls. You ain't using that anymore. Some victims showed evidence of chemical treatment being applied to their bodies. Many of the victims were found after a considerable period of time following their deaths, occasionally in excess of a year. In an era when forensic science was largely infancy, wasn't very popular back then. These factors further complicated identification, especially since the heads are often undiscovered. So I'll go read a little last part then. I won't read. There's a lot more. Then they got the list of the victims that they found. It's pretty sad that some of them are unknown, or you couldn't find their heads and just their bodies.
Well, it's hard to identify whenever like you're talking about like chemicals being involved, or like parts of the body were burnt, like chemical burns and stuff. So
Yeah, and they were working poor most of them. They didn't care back then.
people that might have been off the grid completely. So.
Oh yeah, down the shanty town down in Kingsbury Run in the flats of Cleveland. Okay, the last part I'm going to read. During the time of the official murders, Elliot Ness held the position of Public Safety Director of Cleveland, a position with authority over police department and other services. Pretty much, she was the top of the including the fire department. While Ness had little to do with the investigation, his reputation as leader of the Untouchables has made him an irresistible character in modern social life. Very much he solved the murders over in Chicago. That's what it was. Where he went against the mob and solved all those cases. Ness contributed to the arrest and interrogation of one of the crime suspects. Yeah, this is the guy that they suspected, Dr. Francis E. Sweeney. In addition, he personally conducted raids into hobo shanties and eventually burned down the Kingsbury Run, from which the killer took the victims. At one point in time, the killer taunted Ness by placing the remains of 2 victims in full view of his office at City Hall. It's like, bitch, here, you ain't gonna do nothing. Here you go.
Charlene said it sounds like some black market stuff. Yeah, it definitely does.
Because they burned down a lot of the people's homes, the homeless. That's how they homeless. Ness didn't care about the. No one really cared about the poor back then.
Yeah.
They gave them no respect. So that's just a little. I did post this on our Facebook page. You can read the full thing. I got it from Wikipedia, and they also do list the victims, and some of them were identified. But it's a pretty interesting story. I shared that earlier this afternoon, along the other ones we're going to get to.
Well, I don't need to look up my next story to talk about. We're talking about Mysterious Murder Monday, and when you talk about murderers and kidnappers and things of that nature, some of them are obviously just people who are either disturbed, have some kind of mental disorder, just extremely lonely, things of that nature. But then you get into some of the paranormal reasons, and
like the Black Dahlia. They kind of thought he did those as well. Whoever did these, they think he went over there and contributed to the Black Dahlia.
Sorry, something exited me out of the chat for some reason.
It's like boots, yeah.
But one of the things I wanted to talk about were the Mirror Men, and the Mirror Men are commonly reported to give a time lapse and a sense of memory loss and loss of time that lasts sometimes over a 12-hour to 16-hour period. Um, I hike a lot, and when you're hiking, there's plenty of things in the natural world you have to worry about.
Yes.
And now you think about like some of the cryptid things, like wolfmen or Bigfoots or something that could want to protect its area. But one of the things that scared me the most when I heard about it and heard reports of it were the Mirrormen. And they're creatures that seem to be in like a black suit of sorts. Something kind of like Men in Black, but they're not like full figured beings. They're usually reported to be like 3 or 4 feet tall. And they move, there's three of them, and they move exactly together. So, like,
They're all perfect
they're all
motion.
moving. Yeah. And apparently, as soon as you notice them, they notice you. All of a sudden, things kind of black out for you. You come back to in a completely different area, and it's like I said, sometimes it might be 5 hours, sometimes it might be 10 hours, but there's been times where it's been reported like 12 to 16 to 20 hours later that you're coming back to. And when you think of like mysterious murders or mysteries or people going missing and dying, imagine if you're hiking in like West Virginia. There's all sorts, and Ohio has a lot of them too. But there's all sorts of cave systems that go through West Virginia that are very deep, very easy to get lost in. So if you were to encounter these spearmen in that area, and then all of a sudden like come back 10 hours later and you're deeper within the caverns, say like your equipment's starting to die, you can have rations or food or whatever to prepare for that kind of distance. You could die in there just for that reason, and that could lead to something like that. So that was something I wanted to bring up as well.
What was that movie they went in the cave and never came back? It was creepy.
Was that
They in the dark or something?
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Is that oh man, they made a couple of them too.
Yeah, they made it. This is the most, I think, the most recent.
Yeah,
The females they go roping down into the deep caves,
yeah,
and those things were creepy. I forget what that. If anybody knows what we're talking about, throw it up there in the chat. Sometimes we watch a lot of it and slips our minds. So
I think
it's up there, but
it's like on the tip of my tongue too.
one of the unknown best horror movies, horror movies, smaller ones. Man, it's on the tip of my brain.
Oh man, there's so many good ones like that. Like you think of like Chud. Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. Like that movie is from the '80s. That's such a scary movie about like creatures living under New York and all like sewer systems of New York and like feeding off of things and that.
I know some of those videos they did with some of the people. It's like, yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not real. Come on. But it's just that thought. There's no Pennywise down there either.
You don't gotta worry about the clowns down there. You
No,
gotta worry about maybe something else.
They don't float down there. Anyway,
They all float down there apparently.
well, I was saying they don't float down there because it doesn't exist. But anyway, um, all right, you talked about that. What's next on the agenda? Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to read these?
I can read a couple of things. We have something. The Descent. That's what it
The
is.
Descent. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I was thinking Descendants for some reason. I'm like, no, that's something else. It's a Disney Channel program. But no, The Descent is a movie where like they go underground and they run into some crazy creatures down there.
Oh, there's Charlena throws up some. There is a story I read where a native tribe believes and people live below the earth. Kind of neat story.
Well, there's Hollow Earth theory too.
Yes.
And
There's
people,
another
there's
world
a
of-
theory that like the fey creatures and the giants or Antarctics and like some of the cave systems can actually lead down to there. Like the West Virginia caves are actually one of the cave systems that they feel are deep enough where they can lead down to this potential area.
I've been to a cave system way back as a kid. We would visit through Virginia, West Virginia.
Yeah.
It's real nice deep cave. we explored and got the tour guide. They didn't let us go too deep, but it was pretty massive. It was like, what's lurking in there? I
Yeah.
don't know. Creepy stuff.
Definitely very creepy.
Scholars think they are aliens, Charlene says. Interesting.
Very, very interesting.
They, they could have burrowed underneath just like the underwater aliens. They're just staying down there.
Well, there's a lot of potential to those kind of theories.
Because, yeah, like we talked about this before, the unexplored crevices of the ocean, as I call it. Mountains. There's mountains underneath the ocean, canyons underneath the mountain.
Go ahead and give me that story. The story you used to read. Yeah.
Sorry if it's a little cut up. I just printed off.
No, no, just go and take the paper off. I got it. Alright, I got it. Alright.
And you probably know some of these. You can talk about these.
Yeah, I know a couple of these. I know that's why you wanted me to read them
Yep.
because I knew some of them already. And this is 7 of the most famous serial killers in Ohio.
From Ohio.
From Ohio. Born in Ohio, exactly. They didn't necessarily do their killings in Ohio, but they were born in
Born
Ohio.
here.
And Chris brought this up because we live in Ohio. We're based out of Ohio. So we're going to go ahead and read this real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just put the face
Just put
down
it
here. Yeah.
They have an elaborate system. They also got a Facebook page. It's serial killer shop.
Serialkillershop.com.
Yep.
All right.
And I think I shared this as well. I'm not sure.
So the first one is Robert Verdella in Cuyahoga Falls between 1984 and 1987. Kansas City, Missouri is apparently where,
People just kill them.
yeah, exactly. The former owner of Bob's Bazaar moved to Kansas City and is likely to have started killing during the summer of 1984. Verdella drugged and kidnapped men that he met in bars or on the streets. After torturing and raping them, usually for weeks at a time, he suffocated them. Thanks to the escape of the last victim, Verdella was arrested and charged for multiple counts of kidnap, rape, torture, and murder. Though the bodies of his victims were never found, police did find journals and volumes of pictures that chronicled his crimes. His victims were subjects to electrical shock, bleach in their eyes, injections of drain cleaner into their vocal cords, and repeated rape. They were then dismembered, stuffed in trash bags, and dumped in a landfill.
And Tanya says I would crawl on the earth to get away from us too. Linda says, so what's in your water that makes people crazy in Ohio? I don't know. I don't know. To be honest. Thinking with her. Oh, that one might be another part of it. I say it got cut off here because it was from that page. I printed a page.
Yeah, the whole name of the second.
Read
If
it.
I get a name on there.
Yeah, I did. I just printed off the page.
No, you're okay. Just the second one got cut off. So I'll skip ahead of it. I'll skip it.
You could skip it at least 6.
Yeah. So Edward Edwards was a killer, and I've heard of Ed Edwards before. In Akron, yeah, they have to look here. It says his last name, but I don't know his first name, so I can't say it exactly.
Okay.
But Ed Edwards was in Akron 1976, 1980, and 1996. And then he did some stuff in Wisconsin. Edwards spoke about prison reform and promoted his book about the subject after his release from prison in 1969, when he served time for robbery and unlawful interstate flight. 3 years later, he would commit his first convicted murder. In 2010, in his late 70s, Edwards confessed to killing 2 couples. One couple were shot in the neck in 1977, and another was killed in Silver Creek Park in 1980. The women had been raped and strangled, and the men had been stabbed. Edwards shot his foster son in 1996. He was considered a viable suspect by authorities in the Zodiac, the West Memphis Three, John Benet Ramsey, and other lesser-known murders. So Ed Edwards, kind of psyche was attributed to potentially being the killer in some of these other things.
Yes.
You know, number 4 was Donald Harvey, and his was Butler County in 1970 to 87, and then potentially in Kentucky. Harvey belonged to the group of killers known as Angels of Mercy, who claimed to kill for the benefit of the victim. Harvey was convicted of 37 of his more than 57 suspected murders. He confessed to as many as 87. So,
Good God.
yeah, he was definitely somebody who was
Someone would make
very
that
active. Yeah. When Harvey was hired at the Cincinnati VA Medical Hospital, he managed to collect over 30 pounds of cyanide, which he kept at his home. He also kept diaries and not detailed notes on each of the victims, including how he murdered them.
So there was like assisted suicide, or they just wanted to die.
Exactly. He was one of those people who, like, if somebody was feeling kind of doubts in their mind, he would definitely
We'd go to
refer
their
that
house.
along and go into
How do you
it,
want to
know.
die?
Um, the next one is Gary Heidnik, and he did stuff in Eastlake in 1986 and 87, and then some stuff in Pennsylvania as well. Heidnik put fellow serial offender Ariel Castro, also from Ohio,
Yeah.
and we talked about Ariel
Yeah.
Castro. It's the
Here in Cleveland.
Amanda Knight, and like all those people who were,
That's
raped
a
in his
lot.
basement and stuff. Yeah, and he was,
Found a lot of bodies.
yeah, he was found guilty. I believe he killed himself or was killed in prison. But so that's what they talk about when they talk about Ariel Castro. That wasn't too long ago.
No, that wasn't.
But Heidnik apparently put him to shame when he abducted, tortured, and imprisoned 6 women in starvation. Using the women against one another, he promised better treatment, food, etc., for information about captives who broke the rules.
One got, but the rest of it.
Yeah.
One got away and actually reported it.
Promised to bring him a new captive when she returned. She brought the authorities instead.
Yep.
Heidnick's ability to successfully invest his money, he had amassed over $500,000 and was used as proof of competency as at the trial. So that's an amazing story.
I remember when he was arrested. I lived in Philly, Hitnik.
And the other one is a very famous
Oh, yeah.
story. Michael Madsen, already a convicted sex offender. This was Cleveland in 2012 to 2013. Yep. Already a convicted sex offender for which he had completed a program and received treatment. Madsen was later charged with aggravated murder, rape, and necrophilia with extenuating circumstances of his capital crimes. His 3 convicted cases involved young women he assaulted and strangled. Authorities were called to investigate a foul odor coming from property leased in Madsen's name. The decomposed remains of one body were found just inside the door of the garage. 2 more bodies were discovered in the backyard of the same property in the basement of a nearby vacant house the next day. The remains of all 3 women were found wrapped in plastic bags. Police later found evidence that Madsen kept the bodies in the home for a significant length of time, meaning, that's leading more to the stories of necrophilia and stuff like that. So that's another crazy story. This next story was a little bit before that, but Anthony Sewell, Cleveland from 2000 to 2009, which I moved up to Cleveland in 2009. At the time of Sewell's arrest, 7 dead bodies were found around his home, 2 in his living room and 5 more throughout the dwelling. One only a head in a basket. During the extended search of the property, 4 more bodies were recovered, along with a freshly dug shallow grave. A woman who was brought back to the house and drugged and raped escaped and lodged a complaint with the police. Sewell's activities went on for so long that for years he was known as the smelly guy from his neighbors. After many complaints from several different neighbors, police finally investigated his residence. They found him living in horrible conditions, his victims scattered about the cluttered and infested home.
That's crazy, man. And it just shows that's just Cleveland.
And though most serial killers are supposed to be white male and 20 to 35 years of age, the Ohio serial killers seem to enjoy an equal opportunity serial killer state. The state is home of the NFL and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Perhaps they need one for serial killers from Ohio.
Right.
And that's true. Ohio's serial killers actually have probably some of the best diversities in comparison to how most serial killers
As
are
you
white
would-
men in their early 20s
Yeah, they're up
or,
and down
or
in their ages.
early 30s. Yeah.
So that's that one. What do you think of those? Those are kind of sick. I read some of those before I printed out. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, definitely intense stories.
You talked about Viking, how their upbringing was, and that led to something like this.
Well, so it's the difference apparently between a psychopath and a sociopath.
Yeah.
A sociopath apparently it's something that is innately in that person. It doesn't matter if they had wonderful parents. It doesn't matter if they had bad parents. That person, they have something in their mind that blocks them from being able to have the sympathy, the remorse, the certain things that would make somebody, what people would call human,
Right.
Then there's psychopaths were people who are learned of that behavior. They're people who have had tremendous either trauma in their childhoods or throughout their life that has led them to that path where they no longer have that connect with the part of the brain that says, hey, you shouldn't be stabbing this person in the chest, things of that nature. So that's one of the things that they talk about with the difference between psychopath and sociopath.
Right. Yeah, hi Neil. Linda Bird said that's just sick. Yeah, it was. I mean, you imagine? I mean, you even think to this day, all those victims are still roaming. I bet maybe some of their spirits are roaming around where they got killed or where they got buried or where that killer's house was. I mean, that's why we bring this up too, because you get killed like that or unexplained, you're gonna be walking the earth and wondering what happened or try to solve.
Well, you're gonna want some answers.
You want some answers. Yeah, exactly. You want some answers.
And this is something we've talked about. Think about the Sixth Sense. If something happened so quickly, and then for a while you didn't even know you were dead, that would definitely be a terrible situation where
That's
you
a
thought,
perfect
and you were
movie,
trying to talk to people, and like people, just ignored you, and you thought it was because they didn't like you, but it turns out like, oh no, they can't see you
They can't-
anymore.
you're dead. Yeah, it's a good perfect because if no one's seen it, I'm sorry, but even when I first watched it, I thought he was alive the whole time until towards the end.
Yep.
It was like,
If you've never seen The Sixth Sense at this point, stop the stream, go watch that real quick, and come back and watch the stream. Bruce Willis is dead. He's a ghost the whole movie. Yep. Sorry. I hate to bring that guy,
Charlena says, can you imagine walking in the house and seeing a head in the basket? That's messed up.
Well, what was it?
Hey, Neil.
Oh, was it Kemper? Kemper cut his mom's head off and then had sex with her throat hole, So just imagine that. Not only did he have a head in a basket, but he had a head he had sex with, So Ed Kemper did that.
Tanya says she's a teacher. There's a list of traits for kids to detect serial killers that teachers have to look out for.
I'm sure.
Because of those.
Well, one of the biggest
shootings.
ones. Well, yeah.
Yeah, too.
And one of the biggest things that people look out for is abuse of animals. Because if a kid starts to demonstrate abuse of animals or smaller creatures than it, it's one of those signs that start to lead toward like, oh no, this kid could have deeper issues, And that's a mystery.
That is a mystery. We never. And that's what some of them. I mean, some of these got picked on back then, or like the school shootings. I mean, that's a sad case when that happens, when he thinks that enough is enough, and it's time for anyone that treated the person bad.
Well, and if you want to see a really good movie that explains how that could lead to how things could lead to a school shooting, the movie Elephant. It's I'm trying to think of. Let me look up the director real quick, just so I don't sound like a jackass.
Yeah, that is twisted. It is very twisted. It's making
Okay,
me sad.
so the director is Gus Van Sant.
Okay.
Okay, so it's Elephant, and it's the story of a school shooting, and these kids who were actually like in love with each other, two men who were in love with each other, and because of how things were going at their school, how they were perceived at their
How they
school
treated
and treated and stuff, they ended up going in with like shotguns and like semi-automatic rifles and shooting up their school. And it's a 2003 film, and it's definitely, I mean, think in 2003 I would have been 12 years old, so it definitely impacted me pretty hard when I saw it at that age.
Charlene Arson is another one. And Joe was referring to what you said about his screwing his mom's corpse head.
Yeah,
A sick
yeah.
case of incest.
Well, because what happened with the Kemper case, and don't necessarily like throw a lot of shade at Kemper. With the Kemper case, his mom, because she hated his dad so much, had been abusive and hateful to him his whole life. So what it eventually led to is he started to have, like issues with like his own masculinity and things like that. It caused him to eventually have such a reaction where he killed her and then wanted to humiliate her because she always told him he was such an embarrassment to her. So he wanted to actually embarrass her in a way that would be ridiculous. So if you want to embarrass somebody, fuck their head.
Come back that much. I don't know if he's still. I'm sure he's still in prison.
I think Kemper's dead.
I really think he's Kimber dead.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Kemper's dead.
Man, I don't know if I want to say any more murder stories. It's all a bunch of sadness and it's like I don't know, man.
No.
And this still leads to like hauntings and spirits roaming the earth.
Yep.
Go ahead.
He's still alive. Yep. He is 71 years old.
Still serving his life sentence.
Still serving his life sentence. So yeah, Kemper is still alive.
It's a lifer. We want to talk about anything. We thought it says mysterious in Murder Monday, so
Well,
we'll talk about what do you think is mysterious or unexplained or disappearances and
Okay,
whatnot.
so let's talk about this. Some of the mystery of a lot of things is related to interaction with a other type of being, memory loss, time loss, all those kind of stuff.
Yeah. Let's talk about
We've
that.
talked about in the past.
Excuse
I
me,
think
guys.
even as back to a couple of years ago when we were just doing the podcast about truckers and people of that nature experiencing hours and hours and hours of time loss, and then later having nightmares or memories of alien abduction or things of that nature. So, has anybody heard of a story where you've heard of something in your news, something that somebody's friend told, something of a person who had time loss and then had nightmares of like an alien abduction or some kind of abduction or thing of that nature, because they say that when the mind sometimes experiences something of that nature, it can shut it out because it doesn't want to remember that horrific memory.
Jesus. It sure does. Tanya says, not sure I could watch that. Crazy when you can be in a school situation.
Well, Linda said something very, very important. Lots of people have bad childhoods and don't kill people.
Yes.
I've not had the greatest childhood. It's not anything that's like the most ridiculous. But I have grown up around people, and like my buddy Bulmer, who he submitted a story last week.
That story last
he
week.
didn't have the best childhood at
No,
all,
he didn't.
and he's not a killer. He's not a serial killer or anything like that.
He
I'm
just-
not a killer of any sort.
He just got that
So some
tough
people,
mentality, like
yeah,
the
exactly.
streets.
Some people just use it to further themselves and to better themselves. To use it as an example to not be that person or be like the people they grew up around. But unfortunately, some people do see that kind of person and then they go worse than the person they saw growing up. And that's unfortunately what happens sometimes. you think about people who are extremely privileged, So you think about a dad, like think about a Texas oil mogul who grows up and he fought his way to the top and he made his money the dirty way in a certain way. But then his son, his son's 17, 18 years old. He's got his big F-250. He's got already 100 acres of land that he can ride his dirt bikes around on and shoot his machine guns and stuff. Do you think he has the same connection to reality as you and I do? Because he hasn't ever had to deal with like real life situations. His dad's paved the way and put the money forth for his kind of lifestyle. So somebody like that who has had a great life in comparison to some others could be the kind of person who could eventually be a serial killer because he has such a disconnect with reality.
What's that? I was referring to that you said something like that. That has money and paved his way, grow up with the wealth and whatnot around that. That reminded me of the American Horror Story Freak Show. That one kid, that one dude that was, surrounded by money and he did his things his own way. Still, I mean, didn't have a bad childhood probably. It's the in the Freak Show where that one.
Yeah.
Just like that, money was thrown at him, but he still did what he wanted to. Man.
One, Tanya was talking about head injuries and things of that nature. You got like that Rodriguez dude who he was claimed to have had head injuries, and then in his late 20s he committed murder. That was one of the Netflix documentaries. And that's another thing is that with football, with wrestling, with mixed martial arts, they think that some of these guys they get so much trauma to their brain that they can't connect with reality, and they actually commit some of these murders because because there's damage to their brain. And they did a scan of his brain and showed that there was a huge gap in the center of his brain that may have been causing some of his connections and things.
Hernandez from the Patriots.
Yeah, Hernandez.
Yeah, from the tight end.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was Hernandez.
Yeah.
The Patriots tight end at the same time Gronk played, and they were like a big old duo. And all of a sudden, something contributed to that being hit in the head like that a lot.
And there was some stuff from his childhood that might have led to his things. And he definitely had some drug problems and things. They talked a lot about his marijuana usage. I don't consider marijuana usage much of a drug problem.
That's not a drug problem.
Yeah, but I would say like if he was getting into like cocaine,
heavy drugs,
and things like that, that would maybe something different for sure.
Joe says Jennifer Galloway being killed in Aruba.
Oh, and then he said, "Oops, Natalie Holly."
Then Charlena says, "It happened to me. Not sure about Ellen, but I was driving home from DC on what should have taken an hour, and I can't remember my drive. I got on the interstate. I was in my driveway, and that seemed like 5 minutes. Can't explain it. Head injury, lots of things could affect it. I was fuzzy for days. I remember if I was drugged or something. But, okay, Charlene, this brings up a point. This brings up a thing that I remember. You said about time lapses and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been on the trip with me through the interstate, but how it changed, how 80 changes or 30 changes. It was one of those major intersections where you had to make many turns to get back on. Like you go left to get back on, stay on 30 or 30 west. But anyway, for a moment in time, I was driving back. From seeing my daughters from Indiana. I was up there. And it seemed like a major part of that, which wasn't straight at all. I had no regular. I woke up a little bit later, further down the road. I don't remember anything between that and the interchange, which have been 15, 20 minutes gone from my time where I don't remember. But yet, I'm still on the other side because it's a lot of changes and it's not straight.
Well,
like this. And
now, I also want to talk about this real quick because, I don't want to discredit your story, but I had a similar experience. Remember when I saw Joe Rogan down in Columbus last year? So I went and saw him on Friday, I worked that Friday, so I was up at 5:30 in the morning that Friday. I was at work by 7 o'clock, and I was out of work by 3:30, 4 o'clock. I got home, got myself cleaned up and ready to go, and then I shot down to Columbus. The show I think started at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I think I was out of there at I want to say 10:30, 11. Like obviously the track and things and stuff like that a little bit after that, and it was about a 2 hour drive back. Well, I was tired, and there was points where I was calling it time traveling, but I think I was almost like dozing off a little bit, or like and maybe in a way entering like a meditative state because I didn't obviously wreck or anything like
Right.
that, but I would be like, I know at one point, and I've talked to my wife about this, and I mentioned it before, but I was driving and there was a car beside me and whatever, and then like when I came back to,
Yeah.
there was no cars around me, and I was just driving. So it could be something other, but there's also the possibility of just like your mind drifting off and not like banking that because it
But
does.
isn't that weird though? But couldn't there have been like some spirit guide guiding you when you don't have conscious of a certain amount of time?
And it could have been that. I mean, like I
That
said,
is just it just
I
I
felt
could
my
I should have been
eyelids getting heavy, so like I could have been dozing off. And I have an uncle, my uncle Mark. He's drove trucks over the years and different things like that. But he works for a company called Petroset, and he works at like oil fields and things like that. And he said he's drove some of those trucks at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And he said he doesn't remember the whole drive. He said he did like the whole drive basically asleep.
I
It's
mean
like, what is that?
yours was at night, right? So that
Yeah, mine was very much at night.
very much at night. Mine
Yours
was
was like midday.
mine was midday,
Yeah,
like bright as sun, midday.
but also, like, I don't know. Are you the same way? Like, when I drive, I also like driving is very soothing to
It
me.
is.
So I can definitely like get meditative while I'm driving.
Multi-universes, various timelines. I mean, I lost that amount of time. I don't remember anymore. It was those major weaving in and out, going up this ramp, going to the others. And it was nothing straight about it. I could have ended up like my old boss in the Air Force. He died falling asleep at the wheel
Well, I mean, like think about like what I was saying. When I last remembered, I had a car
next
right
to
to
me.
the left
Did
of me.
nothing.
Then when I came back to,
Did nothing.
there were no cars around me at all. Like if I were just passing out, wouldn't I maybe potentially weave into that car that was
Yeah.
right next to me?
Was
Like
it
what was
was it
happening?
this side?
Yeah, to the left of me. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, to the left of me. So like maybe they saw me weaving and they like dipped out. There was nobody else around. It was late at night, so that could have explained for it. But when I came back to, and okay, I'll add more to the story.
Go for it.
Whenever I passed out, there was a car next to me. There was also a couple cars, and I know there was at least one car behind us because I knew there were lights shining through. When I came back to, dude, there were no cars around me. Not a single
Yeah,
car
because
around me.
when you're driving, sometimes like especially on an interstate or highway, you have people that you see for a while when you're driving
Yeah.
for a while.
And you start to like kind of almost make like a buddy system with
I
that
know.
person. Like,
Driving.
oh hey, there's that red truck.
Oh,
right
he
there.
passed speed. I'll go
Oh,
faster.
hey, there's that like purple SUV.
Right, and it's like, where did that time go? Did someone guiding us, or there's some kind of glitch, or do we go into another universe, parallel universe that
Those
could,
overlaps.
the overlaps,
Yeah,
or
those
that,
temporal overlaps.
or the time stack, or I mean, what happened to those times that you and me could have been possibly dead, but yet here we are waking up on the other side where we were. It's like, how did I get on the other side?
When I talk about like you getting hit by that car inside that building,
Yes.
and your accident and everything like that, we've had many uh, moments where we could have been dead, and yet we're here, we're still kicking.
Spirit guide, someone watching over, or some will say guardian angel, Some people say spirit guide, which are probably the two of the same,
But
or a relative, deceased relative watching over you.
will you please tell us about Thomas More?
Oh, Thomas Carr. Yes, this is an interesting one because I saw this. The guy from Paranormal Quest did a solo investigation out there,
Yeah.
and they have a memorial. I will say a particular person, but let me see. This one got printed weird. Printer was acting weird.
Well, I just know you wanted to talk a little bit about him, and I wanted to make sure we got to him out in the episode. You know?
Well, I'm going to tell you a little background of him and see if any of you recognize who this person is.
I'll be right back, folks.
All right, go for it. Thomas David Carr, born March 6, 1846. March 24th, 1870, was an American thief, arsonist, murderer, and self-confessed serial killer. He was hanged in 1870 for murdering a 13-year-old Louisa Fox in Kirkwood Township, Belmont County, Ohio. And shortly before his execution, he confessed to murdering 14 men, including to participating in a famous 1867 murder that occurred in West Virginia. It's crazy. Then I will get to the person that he murdered. All right. I don't know if many of you heard this. It's the murder of Louisa Fox. And now she has a memorial where she was murdered, and they say her spirit still roams around where she was murdered. Carr soon moved back to Belmont County, where he was to be engaged to a 13-year-old girl named Louisa Catherine Fox in Sewellsville, Ohio. He eventually claimed to have her parents' consent, but they later had retracted it and refused to let the girl marry him. When Louisa told him that she had to break off the marriage, this infuriated Thomas, who then decided that he killed her. He stole a razor from the shoe shop of an Alexander Williams and turned towards the house of Mrs. Hunter, for who Fox was working for as a servant girl. He lied to the girl that he had been to her parents' house and they wanted her to visit them, their grandparents. He then asked Louisa one last time, and she rejected him yet again. Following this, Carr drank around 4 bottles of hard cider, which heavily intoxicated him. And the booze back then was more intoxicating.
Oh yeah,
It
it
is
was
now.
definitely a very high proof at that point. Nothing like the small proofs we're drinking.
Yeah, because this is about 1900s. Learning that Fox was going to go to her grandparents, he got the stolen razor, went on to the road, deciding to wait by a large oak tree. He changed his mind, decided to get a gun and shoot Fox. He visited 2 separate houses to ask for one, but neither had a gun. After returning to the fields, Carr noticed some tracks and immediately realized they were Louisa's. He then ran up the hill, waited till he saw Louisa walking around the road with her little brother Willie. Carr hid behind a fence before Louisa herself noticed him and began talking to him. The pair conversed for a long while, both of them eventually breaking down in tears. Louisa kept telling him that they couldn't get married due to their parents' disapproval. And back then, there was, for girls back then in the 1800s, to marry as early as 13, 14. I know it's a little weird nowadays, but back then it was different.
Well, and life expectancy changed certain
Yes.
taboos and certain things like that. Yeah.
Carr then told Willie to go down to the road and that they would follow him soon after. After arguing for a bit, both began walking down the road, with Willie being about 10 yards ahead of them. By then, Carr decided to kill her when they reached the ravine. Continue their walk in the meantime. He asked her if it was enough for a man to commit a crime, with her crying out that she wished for death due to all the problems she was facing. Upon hearing this, Carr grabbed her by the arm and began walking towards the ravine, asking her if she was ready to die. The girl pleaded for her life, but to no avail. When he reached a gutter, Carr pulled out the stolen razor, began slashing the right side of her neck across the jugular vein, making a wound that was 10 inches long and 2 inches deep. So brutal. Fox's last words were supposedly, "Farewell, Tom. Oh, I didn't think you could serve me so."
Once you didn't feel that you'd be capable of those kind of actions.
No. He then proceeded to make between 10 or 12 more cuts on her neck.
Well, that's okay. So let's talk about crimes of passion. Crimes of passion. It's usually the person once they make the killing blow, their mind like something clicks and they're just like they automatically like, well, fuck it, I've already done it, and they just start going crazy for a second and almost a rage not only against the person but kind of against themselves at that point.
One on the hand and final one on the breast. After letting some of her blood spill in the gutter, Carr raised the now deceased Louisa and kissed her 3 times.
Exactly. He was still very passionate about her.
After leaving the body, Carr started to going up the hill, considering cutting his own throat near a white oak tree, but deciding to go back in Stewisville. I'm going to mispronounce it.
Well, and I'm going to say something real quick before you continue on.
Okay.
Shalina said true love. I don't know if that's necessarily true love. That's definitely a certain level of passionate love.
Yeah.
But I feel true love continues people on and makes them love each other until the end of their natural lives. You know, I know that the Romeo and Juliet ideal continues on. That like ideal of that mystery continues on. But I don't think true love is killing somebody. You know, I think true love is continuing on.
Well, I think it
and
was
making
part
each other's
of
lives better.
because back then it was more stricter. You had to have the parents' permission.
Oh, okay. She said it was a joke. I'm sorry. I missed the joke part. I'm sorry, Charlena. My bad. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna shut up now. I'm just gonna sit here and shut up. Chris, go on.
He would.
I'm sorry. Much love.
Stewisville with a gun and kill Mr. He saw that he was being chased due to the fact that Willie had informed his father of the deed. Carr began knocking on every door he came across, asking others politely if they had any guns so he could kill a rabbit. And before finally arriving at the house of Mr. Young, whose wife finally gave Thomas a gun. After arming himself, he cut through the woods and began walking on the same road on which he had followed Louisa. Feeling weakened and walking slowly as he had not eaten anything. But pretty much he got convicted and he was proud of it. I was going to read something in the back because, like I said, I read him before his bio. His biography is he was upbringing in the military service. He murdered more people. He was the first person in Ohio to be executed by hanging. I mean, look what he kept cutting her. I mean, it could have been, like you said, passionate, or no one else can have her.
Yeah, exactly. Once the first release happens, you know, like with those crimes of passion, usually it's like, no, you're mine. You know, like Sweeney Todd has a lot of stories of that. You know, where it's like, you know, despite the musical elements, you know, there's the real like killer elements of it. You know.
Well, Louisa is buried in the cemetery, but they also got a memorial plot of where she was killed, and that's where her spirit still roams to this day. Because I just watched that, and they were interacting with that one guy.
Okay.
So she still roams those grounds where she got killed, not necessarily where she's buried, but and they made a memorial marker for her. And it was odd because on the second time he went back, someone left her flowers, so they're still remembering her. But that was the interesting one that I just watched a couple days ago, and that was in Ohio, and that he might have been, I don't know, he confessed to other murders, so he might have murdered people even before he done Louisa in like that, which is pretty sad because she never got a chance to. She was only 13 years old, just because her parents wouldn't let her marry. And it's like, oh, no one else is going to have her. I'm going to cut. But that what she said that was pretty haunting and chilling. So yeah, that's an Ohio story. It kind of goes bleeds into West Virginia and Ohio because it was on the border.
Yeah.
But he was convicted in Ohio in the Belmont County down there. He was the first to be executed by hanging just because of his heinous crime. Then he, like you said, I read that little bio of him. He confessed to other ones as well before Louisa. So he was already something. And yeah, think of this. This is the time of the Civil War too. After the Civil War, during the Civil War, yeah, around that time, where he served in the military. Well, you gotta imagine his psyche at that point during that time.
And it's crazy to think like what a person has to go through to get to that point. But it's also you think about the people who had like really good lives and they got to that point off of that. It's another even weirder thought. Now we talked about it earlier in the show, um, and we want to keep these questions going. But do you guys? Why do you think the spirits or potential specters or whatever cryptids or things are out there are keeping their social distancing right now? Because it seems like they're definitely keeping away from things. And then, you know, what do you guys think? Uh, for somebody who was potentially harmful in their life, do you think that carries on to their spirit, or do you think their spirit is almost disappointed with them because they failed them in their life? Because they say the spirit lays out the trials and the tribulations, the lessons that we face in this life to learn more and move forward. But also too, if you're going through life and you're just bumming it through and you're not really putting your best foot forward, is your spirit really disappointed with you? Is it really just looking down on you like, oh man, come on, what are you doing? And I know some people it's hard to think about the spirit outside of certain elements they've ever thought about it as, but I like to think about my physical body as the satellite that picks up my spirit's consciousness and is also like learning some lessons while it's down here. We've talked about certain
We
stuff.
talked about that how your spirits
Like
go.
you and I think, have had some of the best conversations when it comes to diversity of this kind of topic because yours is based out of Christianity, mine is based out of Christianity, but then eventually let out to like paganism, and other things.
Yeah, it has. But I talk about this and how, like, not all traumatic events lead to having an open mind, but some traumatic events lead to different directions. Mine was led to a more open mind to everything.
Yeah.
And not necessarily going toward a bad way. Well, some traumatic event like PTSD, but all those who suffered in the military from PTSD, I understand now. I still wake up. I'm scared of air pressure. That's a longer story. That's a harder story. Um, a loud bang. We'll just go it that way. Any loud bang, I jumped. Even that Instapot up there, you did not see me near that thing because it pops off air pressure. Nope.
When you have PTSD, and PTSD shows its forms in a different way.
Yes, it does.
My mom has PTSD from situations she's faced in her life. She's faced very, very traumatic situations, and they've led to her having PTSD.
It's like it never goes away. It's up there. It's like, or sometimes you remember. Sometimes like you're laying down, or you're just sitting there, just being quiet and meditating, and it replays in your head.
I want to address a couple things in the chat.
Okay.
To Linda, she said a crazy person is a crazy spirit. I don't think that's necessarily true. if a person in life was to reject what their spirit was trying to send them message wise, it could make them even more crazy because they're actually rejecting their spirit's true message, you know. So I don't think it would say to say a crazy person is necessarily a
No,
crazy
there's
spirit.
still negative
It's
spirits
just
out
the
there.
crazy person could be rejecting their spirit's message.
Yes.
To
Makes a good,
Joe,
make a good point.
he said, "My spirit has a drinking problem." You know, hey, Joe, I think it's just you who has the spirit with a drinking problem. You know,
we've been on and off today, but
and Tanya's like, you know, she give a law to Joe, but Charlena, real quick, I want to read her message.
Go ahead, I saw it too.
Yeah, because that's definitely an important one to address. And Linda, I'm not trying to come at you at all. Don't worry.
No.
I love you, Linda. Don't worry. I'm just saying,
everyone's got their.
I don't think necessarily a person is a representation of their spirit because their spirit could be trying to send them the right message, and they could just be completely ignoring because the human mind is only so intelligent. And you have to imagine the spirit is far more intelligent.
Now, I want to bring back to the movie Sixth Sense. He didn't know he was dead toward the end of the movie. They can still act like that thinking they're not dead, right? I mean, it's a theory. I mean, now I think about the movie and all. He didn't think he was dead at all and still be acting out and your others. I like that theory that they're rejecting we're always learning or retraining or learning from our past lives.
The earth is a school. You know?
Yeah, and some spirits reject it. That could the theory of the negative entities and spirits and whatnot as well. All the poltergeists. Well, we won't say demons because they're not of human, but like poltergeists and the negative entities that are still roaming the earth right now.
And I want to address Charlena's comment real quick. You know,
go ahead.
And she said, "Well, this is just in my opinion only, but we are in a pandemic worldwide. I think the celestial beings that help humans pass I think the celestial beings that help humans pass are more prevalent on Earth, and the spirits might be confused or being reverent to what is going on. You know."
Ah, very good. And Linda was like, "Yeah, everyone has a right to feel and believe."
Well, I completely agree with that.
Fine.
Yeah, and that's why I said, you know, like
we're here to share anything. We're knowledge. We're not here to.
That's why when I toss out a thing like that, like I'm saying, like, you know, it's not that I necessarily think
believe in that.
You know, yeah. Do I believe some spirits that are completely bonkers could lead to a completely bonkers person? Oh, for sure. But I don't want to say that like just because a person is bonkers.
We don't know for sure.
Yeah, doesn't mean the spirit is bonkers. Yeah.
We're still learning every day.
Just something I've tossed out there. Yeah.
And this will be a question I'll probably use for Wednesday's show that's coming up. That I changed it up a little bit. And it's kind of along the lines of what we're talking about now, but I'll save that question for another. But it's like coming up already. I mean, we're already probably kind of answering with theories and opinions and whatnot. And it's fine to have opinion and theories because none of us know for sure.
Not at all.
We're always learning.
Exactly.
Nobody's an expert.
Except like probably like I don't know. Let's see. I don't know, Moses, like he was pretty smart. Josh Gates, he seems like he's pretty smart. And I would say like Marilyn Manson is probably pretty smart too. So like those three guys, Mike Rexicker maybe. He's I think he's only interpreting the other people's messages, but like let's say like Moses, you know, Josh Gates and Marilyn Manson. Those three are probably keeping things going, you know.
Or the MUFON guy. He was pretty smart.
Maybe Rob Zombie. Maybe Rob Zombie. We'll think later on that. I don't know.
Everyone has a right. Bill Tony says some more intelligent than others. True.
Oh, Charlena said Keanu Reeves. Yeah. Oh no, Keanu Reeves is like but he might be just God. I don't know. We'll talk about that
He
later.
never ages, it seems like. Either.
Well, also too, he's just like he's experienced traumatic stuff in his life,
yes, he has.
and he's
He keeps it.
continued to be overly charitable.
Yes, he has. That guy is awesome. And he's, like you said,
And Linda said, "I love Josh Gates. We love Josh Gates so much, dude.
We watch so much of his
Chris
stuff.
and I are like probably two of the biggest Josh Gates. Like we've been watching his career since pretty much the beginning.
Oh, yeah. And I still rewatch some of his stuff.
All the time, yeah. We talk about him all the time too.
We do. And we talked about this in another episode, how
He seems to be such a legit person.
he goes a lot of different topics like we do.
Exactly. He's well versed.
He's well versed, and he talked about that one trying to find life after death.
Like,
he did a
where-
whole series.
You know, there's a people who consider themselves jack of all trades but master of none. You know, that's how we are. We are well versed in a lot of different topics, but we're not experts in any topic, really. You
I
know,
mean, some of the stuff I have, like stories like to provide to you guys,
we can research really well
Yeah.
on a lot of topics, but we're not experts. We're just well versed in a lot of different topics. You know.
we try certain things when we're out, even when we're investigating and stuff like that. And if it doesn't work, we don't use it anymore, or we'll use it later.
Anya said Josh Gates is a time traveler. Dude, he seems to be like ridiculously knowledgeable. Like we watched that that Egypt expedition they did recently, yeah. And where they actually went into a burial ground together with a bunch of people from Egypt.
Covered, yeah.
It was amazing.
Then, like I said, the Life After Death series he had, like he was really getting deep in that, looking at other people's religions and stuff like that. Which, I mean, who doesn't want to? It kind of ties into everything. I mean, I almost kind of cried, but I mean, we even talk about this like last show we talked, because it was fun. We talked about the being. I mean, you still worry about death and all that. What's going to happen? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I hope there's an afterlife.
Well, what we talked about was I have panic attacks occasionally in my life that are related to I guess a lot of people would probably call it existential dread, but yeah, sometimes my mind panics about the idea of non-existence, and when I die, being nothing.
Man,
Sorry, I'm coughing. The incense is pretty strong.
Right in your face.
Right in my face, yeah.
Linda's,
But no, I sometimes have ideas and panic attacks related to the idea of like once I pass on, not existing, being nothing, those like that nothingness, and it's not a fun feeling sometimes.
I mean, you guys see us.
And I've been dealing with it for over 20 years.
We're very emotional guys.
Yeah.
We pour our hearts out in certain shows. We pour a lot. We're very emotional, and we try to give you as much, and we try to be upfront with you. We don't bullshit anything. And if we seem to get a little emotional sometimes because it's really a topic that we talk about even off the show, we go back and forth, and it gets very emotional. It does. And Linda says the Life After Death was amazing. I thought it was. I kind of like was getting emotional during that because it was such a great.
Yeah.
It was definitely a great show because he doesn't know, because he's got a family he's got to take care of as well, like most of us do. And Joe says you talk about me.
Joe, we love you.
We love you, Joe.
That's all you need to know, Joe, is that we love you. And it's not even like a fake like love. We do. We love you, dude. You're awesome.
We love all you guys.
And we love all you guys, but I just want to
even the one father can't join us right now. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, and I apologize. I usually do this. Anne, I know most of you know Anne in the chats. She's not feeling well today, so she messaged me earlier, sent out some positive energy, some healing
Yeah,
out
definitely.
her
So,
way. So
that's
she'll
some good
really
energy.
appreciate that.
Anne's wonderful.
I mean, if you guys can't make it, don't be if we and you don't need to apologize if you can't make it. We're not like that. If you can't make it, you can always rewatch us, or you can message us or talk with us after the show or the next day. I mean, we have no problem with chatting with you guys at all. Yeah, off and on the show.
Yeah. Whenever you guys want to message me, we're pretty responsive.
Yeah, we're pretty responsive. I mean, it's not like
I'm getting better. He's always been really good at keeping up with messaging.
what was it all day yesterday. I was watching a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
because it was.
I'm getting better.
And
Like if
chatting with
you
people.
talk on the Instagram, it's me. If you talk on the Facebook, it's mostly Chris. I pop in there sometimes though.
He's got a personal account if you want. He's got like the business account for us. He doesn't usually do the Facebook, but I made him a
Yeah,
personal account.
I'm not a Facebook person, but if you message on the Facebook, I will sometimes be the person interacting with you.
And I'm gonna get some of the chats.
Okay, go ahead.
Tanya says my grandma sent me a message about the afterlife when she passed. I'll tell you sometime. I'll be interested in hearing that story. If you want to message me later and you want to talk about it, that's fine. Just you're friends on me on my regular Facebook. Go ahead and do
Can
that.
I read his message?
You read the. We'll go back and forth. Go ahead.
When I was young, I was so scared of dying, but now at 69, I'm okay with it. And Linda, I appreciate you sharing that with me. I know it's so silly. I'm only 28 years old.
Now
I should.
45.
And you're 45. I shouldn't be as afraid of death as I am. And I've gotten better for sure. Don't worry, I've gotten better over the years. But I started thinking about death about like 5 or 6 years old, and unfortunately, it's just been this consistent thing that pops up in my head sometimes, where like it leads to panic attacks and things like that. I don't want it to happen, but it does, unfortunately.
And what type you think? I mean, I know the traumatic event that was pretty scary. I mean, I wouldn't want no one to go through that, but I did. I wish that upon no one, not even my enemies or people that I dislike. I'm not going to say hate because hate is a mean word. I mean, that kind of opened my mind in like two different ways.
Yeah.
It makes you even think about it even more after something like that. It's scary. I'm only 45. I'm pretty sure I have a long life ahead of me. Well, oh, here's look at my brain. There we go. That's, anyway, wait a minute. There we go. And gosh, it is. Yeah, it's all right to be scared. We're human. It's okay to have that kind of think of non-existence. And are we going to continue after this? We don't know. We won't. But getting back on Tanya's story, I would like to hear that later on if you want to message me it. Or you can even send it to me or Tyler. So, and Joe says I'm 54. Death still scares me.
Understandable.
Is it because we get closer
So-
to it or traumatic event?
Well, and I'll talk about one of my mentor figures, Wally.
Yes.
Wally is in his mid-80s, and he was almost in Vietnam. He almost fought in the Vietnam War. It got to the point where he was about a week away from being out of, the army.
Boot camp or the
Yeah.
army?
He was already through boot camp and all
Okay.
that stuff, but he was about a week away from being out of the army, and that was when they were going into Vietnam. And
Because I think it was
one of
like
those
geared towards.
yeah. And so it's one of those things where he's like, well, if you can get my 2 weeks of jungle training, my 2 weeks of leave, and all this stuff, and within this week, I'll stay. And obviously they couldn't, so they had to release him. So luckily, I was able to know him because he was able to be released before,
Right.
Vietnam.
I couldn't even imagine it.
Well, and if you would have gone to Vietnam, I wouldn't have lived in Cleveland, so like you and I would have never known each other.
Or you would
I
never
would
met
have
Annie.
I would have never met my wife,
What?
exactly. I would have never met my wife. But he was able to get out of there, and then he was always into race cars and
Oh yeah, you talk
racing and
about
everything. He got really dirt track racing and some asphalt racing. And I met him and everything, but he's 85 years old, and he is terrified of death sometimes. Like we've had conversations as recently as months ago, where because he's in his 80s and a lot of people die in their 80s and stuff.
it.
He's very terrified. I understand, but I don't understand because I'm 28.
Well,
How can I
whenever
understand
just I'll be there for you. Just I don't want you to think about it, but I'm there for you. So for a while because I know how important he is to you.
You're always such an amazing person. I just want him to
He's an amazing
see
guy.
my kids grow up for a while.
Yeah. We'll get to the chat. Charlene has a very important thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not afraid of death. Kind of interested actually to see what it's all about. I'm just worried about the process of it. Hope it's quick and painless. Like dying in your sleep.
Exactly, your sleep makes sense.
That's quick and painless. Being alone scares me, yes. I don't want to die alone. I want some. I should be dead, so I believe you will go when you're supposed to. I talked to my sister, and she is happy in death, which she never was in life.
Well, that's interesting.
That is very, because if you're not happy here, but you're happier in death, or you're not in pain, so there's no pain up there.
Well,
Some it could be a theory, but I'm just
and Linda, if you're talking on to the people of the afterlife, and if you see my brother Mitch, just tell him, I said hi and all of them.
oh, Belinda's watching. Hi, Belinda.
Hey, Belinda. We're always glad to see you.
Tanya
so
says,
much.
"I believe that, Linda." It's like, oh, you guys are so sweet.
We're always trying to make sure we're being honest.
I mean, we didn't want to talk about this, but it kind of led us to this.
It does.
Sometimes it just maybe it was because we did talk about all of this people that didn't try see themselves dying, but they got killed by people that couldn't control themselves. We'll just put it that simple term. They couldn't control.
Exactly.
They couldn't control themselves, and they could be still walking, wanting answers, or want someone to hear their story, or want someone to be remembered. And you never know, like the torso murders of this Louisa Fox, that's still remembered to this day as a memorial. And it's hard. When I saw it, it's hard to get to, but if I were to make it that way, I will ask about that. Maybe we can do some type of
We'll
investigation
talk a
out
little bit about Jack the Ripper.
well, that's good old Jack, man.
I know that's one of the last things you've heard that. Let's talk a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about the Jack the Ripper.
You said your teas.
No, it's still on my teeth. I drank 3 of them already, so I'm all teed out right now. I'm drinking my regular tea. Just give me some kind of water. Joe says being alone would be scary. I think it's good to face fears. Yes, Tanya, it is good to face fears, but sometimes we just don't want to think about that. But there's one of those unsolved ones, mysterious ones that they have not, just like the Zodiac Killer, which we haven't brought up, but everyone hopefully knows what the Zodiac Killer. You can't solve that. No one to this day, not even a supercomputer can solve that. I watched that little series they had on YouTube. They had like an 8-part series they were trying to solve. Or trying to reinvestigate some of it and try to decipher them, even with the
That's
best supercomputer.
Another thing.
That is another whole nother ball of wax. All right, I'm going to read just a little bit of it. I'm going to read the first page. All right. Jack the Ripper was an unidentified serial killer active in largely impoverished areas in and around Whitechapel. Sound familiar? Torso killer?
Very familiar, yeah.
I wonder why you got got the ideas from this. You probably read Jack the Ripper around the Whitechapel district of London in 1888. In both criminal case files and contemporary journalist accounts, the killer was called the Whitechapel Murderer in leather apron. Attacks ascribed to Jack the Ripper typically involved female prostitutes who lived and worked in the slums of the East End of London. Sounds like the Cleveland torso murder. All
East side always.
those were cut prior to abdominal mutilations. Removal of internal organs from at least 3 of the victims led to proposals that the killer had some anatomical or surgical knowledge.
Which isn't necessarily true. It's easy to gut somebody in comparison to actually having knowledge of what you're doing.
I think they were precise.
Yeah.
Pretty precise because he had the tools.
I guess the precision was probably noticeable at that point.
What was that picture that your guy woman has? That guy was actually smiling during a dissection of a human.
That was an 1800s like an autopsy picture.
Yeah.
Where it was like a student and stuff.
It looked like he was enjoying.
And one of them was like, yeah, he definitely was smiling. He was enjoying it way too much.
So that could something like this guy.
Yeah.
Was. Rumors that the murders were connected intensified in September, October 1888, and numerous letters were received by media outlets in Scotland Yard from individuals perpetrating to be the murderer. The name Jack the Ripper originated in a letter written by an individual claiming to be the murderer that was decimated in the media. The letter is widely believed to have been a hoax and may have been written by a journalist in an attempt to heighten interest in the story and increase the newspaper circulation. The From Hell letter received by George Lusk of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee came with half of a preserved human kidney, perpetually taken from one of the victims. The public came increasingly to believe in a single serial killer known as Jack the Ripper.
Let me do it.
Well, let me go. I'm gonna finish this last sentence.
Yeah.
Then there's just a little bit more.
Yeah. Finish the last sentence.
Mainly because of both the extraordinary, brutal nature of the murders and media coverage of the crime.
Okay, so Tanya was saying, she was wondering if we knew about the series, the H.H. Holmes, and we're just claiming to believe that Pritchard and H.H. Holmes.
I've watched the H.H. Holmes, and they try to how he had stuff that he went to London and back.
Continue on, but there's a idea that Jack the Ripper and H.H. Holmes might be one and the same. So continue on.
Extensive
Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah, extensive newspaper coverage bestowed widespread and enduring international notoriety on the Ripper, and the legend solidified. And police investigation to a series of 11 brutal murders committed in Whitechapel and Spitalfields between 1888 and 1891 was unable to connect all the killings conclusively to the murders of 1888. 5 victims: Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly are known as the, I can't even see if you can see that word. I can't even pronounce one. This one. The one in parentheses, canonical. The canonical 5. Sorry. And their murders between 31st of August and 9th of November 18 are often considered the most likely to be linked. The murders were never solved, and the legends surrounding these crimes became.
Stop a second. Tanya, never be sorry. Don't worry.
No. The crimes become a combination of genuine historic research, folklore, and pseudo history.
Yeah, and pseudo history is a big part of
history. If you want to read more into this, I won't read the whole page, but I shared all 3 of these on our Facebook page. If you want to read more, click on the link. You can read more about this stuff. But yeah, Tanya Rogers, I did watch that, and they think H.H. Holmes had something to do with it because he had things. He went over to London, then he came back. So,
but there's still like 4 or 5 people that think it was.
Yeah, they did, but they put the H.H. Holmes. H.H. Holmes had
He's
that.
on top of the list.
He's
but
on top of the list of suspects.
He's never been confirmed though.
But yeah, he's never been confirmed. Yeah, you don't have to.
I could be Jack the Ripper.
You could be.
I'm only
budget.
28 though, so I guess maybe I can. All right, guys, I'm not Jack the Ripper. Okay, I get it. I'm a loser.
So we got about what? Almost 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We talked about murderers and life and death, and I don't think we really covered. It was a kind of a joke question, but why do you think spirits are practicing social
All
distancing?
right, so we'll talk about it ourselves. I think that spirits are realizing that there's an abundance of people out in the public areas, and they're just keeping their distance. I think that's just my main theory on that.
Well, if someone was like, "Ooh, there's a break," like some of the major locations, like all these people, like the prisons and whatnot.
As we finish up, um, you know what? Why don't you talk about some of the things that have annoyed you while you're out in dealing with the annoyance of people not social distancing?
Did anybody see my?
I'll be right back. I gotta add chicken real quick.
All right, go ahead. Did anybody see my little funny rant yesterday on my regular Facebook? Like going to Walmart is as fun as punching yourself in the head because people wouldn't keep their distance from me or doesn't know what directional arrows mean. Like this way means this way and that way means that way. Or they just came close to me and I said, oh, I might as well just go around naked in there. Maybe they'll keep their distance. But that was my little rant from yesterday because I did little errands for the wife because she was looking for buttermilk, which I finally found today at another grocery store, so she can make some scones. I do believe it's scones. Quote me on that, but I think it's something to do with scones. So I really had to find that buttermilk, and I actually did today after I mailed my stuff I sold off of eBay because I got to make that money somehow too, so I can continue doing this and support the family and pay the bills. And yeah, that was my little rant from yesterday. I try to make it funny, but not too serious. But I just wish people would respect your distance and